And my apologies for being late. Cause I wanted to do morning shows. I wanted to do a quick morning show and drop that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Using truth, love, and courage, and other principles, virtues, morals, ethics, uh, in the true direction. I don't like going in false directions. So, but like I said, this is Volothan Modules Tartage. I got a great show for y'all today. I hate to call them shows. I call them programs because I initially started off as a computer programmer, and I wanted to work for a Commodore back in the day, back in the '90s or whatever. But that didn't fall through. The company went belly under, and now the only thing that's left is remnants, remnants. I will figure that out. Trying to rebuild the vocabulary. I got the vocab, you got the vocab. So today is the last day of Black Media Appreciation Month. It ends today, according to Professor Black Truth, and we give him respect as a foundational Black American, one of the grassroots podcasters. Black media is what we like to call it. So that's what he he gave this month, April, Black Media Appreciation Month. So it ends today, and hey, much respect and love, and I've been. That's why I kind of like let me get my shows going, or programs, should I say, going, so that I can elaborate on what that exactly means. Because we're caught up in the white media, and this is corny, right? And what the white media is and does is it's just like the Democratic Party. It's don't talk bad about the Democratic Party unless you're talking bad about the Republican Party too. When the truth of the matter is that 70% of Republicans are actually Democrats. I'm just keeping it 100. And I'm going to reintroduce the 70% rule eventually. I have to go over some elementary functions, and we'll work our way up to some statistics and be able to draw a mathematical function and share some calculus to be able to understand the area underneath the curve. That way, when I'm talking about the 70% percentile on the function that I use in order to come up with this data, it'd be a little bit more understanding. It is kind of like the normal curve. So I am using exponentials and natural logs and all that good stuff in order to computate a solution set to the problem at hand. And the problem at hand is that, what do I name today's show? Today's show I am naming, what did I name it? I gotta figure it out again. Oh, Pimps, Simps, and 6304s. Yes, today I'm going to talk about the Pimps, the Simps, and the 6304s. That nonsense that they pointing at hip hop culture, like that's the problem. Like no. It's not black culture the problem. Like we go back to the 70s where the Mac, Superfly, black exploitation films we rapped about a little bit earlier, and that's not where I started my son at. When it comes to watching movies, I tried to introduce war games yesterday, for example. He came by yesterday, and I tried to introduce him to war games. Of course, he'd rather watch Sonic the Hedgehog, so he watched a little bit of Sonic the Hedgehog, finished off a little cartoon we watched before. We made a little video. We ate real good. I'm trying to bring back the daddy and the son play a video game, like we eat dinner and then play a video game and share it with the world type of thing. But we having so much catching up to do because of the triangle that's going on. But we'll get that's personal business. Don't sweat all in that. But as you can see, that's what's been going on with the whole foundation of Black American families and Black families and ADOS families. But we're all one in the same. And what Barack Obama likes to use is African American, to call Barack and what's her name, Kamala Black, is kind of disrespectful, especially because his dad just got off the boat in 1960 in order to spread his royal oats with his mom in Hawaii, and therein became a question of his citizenship. But that's neither here nor there right now. But we do see him playing a lot of favoritism to what we call tethers, and those are people that just arrived in this country not too long ago. Some as recently as when Biden just opened up the borders, and we've seen the results of all that and how that really messed up the economy, and how I found myself working in horrible conditions with black and white people wearing all black, so we were all black, and we were at the bottom, struggling and busting our butts while uh, immigrants, quote unquote Spanish, and Spanish speaking, were they were driving the forklifts and the higher level jobs. I had to put that in quote, right? And but getting to know them, et cetera, and then human resources, walking around like you shouldn't be getting to know each other type of a thing. And then they just telling on themselves how they, got several baby mamas in the city already, and how they, they cut the check for them. And I mean, they telling their whole thing, and it's like that. And then that's why it's kind of hypocritical, like they didn't, Democrats not knowing, like, because I'm sitting there working with Democrats that's like, hey, why are they doing this and why are they? And then it's like, dude, shut up, especially being on, the gig apps. And next thing I know, hey, he got to go home because he's talking too much about freedom for American citizens, especially he's foundational white American, but that's a kind of an oxymoron within itself, right? That's one of the things they can't bite, and that's what they're getting upset about, because it's, now you are the colonizers, right? We are the black, brown, beige, yellow, whatever colors y'all want to use, golden, whatever colors that your almond is the new red skin, like they want us to argue over being people of color, as a non-white ideology, right? So we'll get more into that information too. I'm just running it off, trying to catch y'all up real quick, and I'm gonna stop right there because I do got two great videos for you today. I'm gonna start off with Phil Scott. This is the fair use 1960s, civil 1970s fair use. I'm gonna share a link in the description. I'm right now, since I'm still just beginning. I'm gonna put this on Facebook and on YouTube, and do like I did with the last episode, which was Barack Obama, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Classic, already an instant classic. Shout out to Tone McLean, I believe my man name is. You get 700 friends on Facebook, and you recognize the names. I recognize the names. I see it in my head. He shared it. He gave it a love, shared it, and same with Opal. She shared it. Well, she loved it, and I thought it was a good work. It was very explanatory, but of course you got the Democrat dummies that just want to be hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. You got to show hate Trump. Like, no. You got to show love God. Then you can, comment, share the thought of logical thinking or the laws of reasoning to explain why you disagree with Trump doing whatever you don't like what he did. But whereas he just got in his first 100 days, and I'm already seeing a positive direction with myself. And now, in order to really go to that next level, I need him to cut the check for all the grievances that we have, especially myself. But we'll get more into that later on. That's really none of y'all business either. But this is my business right now, is trying to get you to hit that like button, subscribe, share, and join our movement. Like I said, our movement is Foundational Black Americans, and either you're for, that means you're probably telling that you're also a foundational Black American. You're with, you see that we do have some grievances, and you don't see me as you're being your enemy. You see yourself as an American too, and like, hey, let's rebuild this country that Joe Biden destroyed. And then 3 would be you're against us, and I wouldn't, the YNs don't, all I gotta do is be like, hey, he's against us. The YNs be like, what? You don't want the YNs coming at you. The YNs is a little bit out of control, but they respect me. As soon as I see them, they be like, Mr. C, he gonna cut that check, right? And it's like, You know what I mean? We still working on Trump. You know what I mean? See if he can hook us up. You know what I mean? So that we can take this culture. We are community. We are consciousness in the culture to a higher new level. And I know I'm repeating myself on a lot of these things, just like I am with Houdini. The words love and life both have four letters, but they're two different things all together. Like many ladies in my day, but just like the wind, they all blown away, right? One love, right? Friends, how many of us have them? But we're gonna keep on going with this right here. I'm gonna drop some Phil Scott on y'all. Philip Scott first, right? And I'll be back with. I might interrupt here and there because I think it was like 7 minutes. So I just to chop it up and make sure that I'm, add my little comment to it also. But I might step away for a second to get myself something else to drink. But I'll be needing commercial breaks. So that's what I was trying to explain to my son yesterday. So funny thing, right? So let's see here. We're gonna click on this right here, and we're gonna be right back. All right. Thanks for listening.
We've said that we are the culture of America. We are the salt of this land. If you take us away, then what will you have, right? You have the folks, actually. But even one, FBA woman has even admitted to this. Let's go ahead and check this out.
I'm going to keep saying this until I die. American culture is Black American culture. It just gets filtered out and watered down and whitewashed until they can give credit to a white guy. Jazz, country, rock and roll, rap, all Black American creation. And then you want to move to the protest side. Bro, not only did Black Lives Matter spark actual other things like Asian Lives Matter and Queer Lives Matter and Trans Lives Matter, but on the flip side, when racists were trying to say, well, Blue Lives Matter, through humanity, what happened is it translated into less of a sarcastic thing and more into a genuine, support your nurses and firefighters and EMTs. So even the people who might be the most discriminatory.
This is Buick. Now. Buick.
Who might be the most discriminatory. They got to think of Black American for their own views.
Now, we've been saying that forever, right? That when people look at the culture of America, they look at FBA culture. That's really what it is. And people feel like they're so entitled to our culture. So because of what she just said, now do you understand why people are getting very angry and triggered by the delineation movement? Because with the delineation movement and the gatekeeping of our culture, and people can't just come in and do what they used to do with our.
And let me just interject for 1 second. I just had to, because he's using the terminology culture, and of course that's what we've been saying about hip hop. Hip hop is the culture. Is our culture. Hip hop is our culture. So, and that's what I've been, starting this whole movement with. I've been reintroducing it as our community. All right, hip hop is also our community, and that's what it's always been from the beginning. Me being an East Coast kid from Philadelphia, I'm right there next to the Mecca, so I'm there, and as soon as it sparked in New York, it trickled down. It was already in Philly by with Schoolie D and things of that, people of that nature. And by the early '80s, Schoolie D was we was already rapping and everything too. We was already breakdancing and everything too. So so the movement moved real fast, and from early on, as soon as and that's why KRS One gets the most credit for actually being the first one say that I am hip hop. It's just ironic today is now the movement is I am foundational Black American. So that's why it really coincides with hip hop being a community, our consciousness and culture. Now we're talking about a triadic ideology, or not. I hate ideology and I hate methodology, but KRS One is credited for saying metaphysics. So that gave us a spirituality. So therein is our community consciousness and culture became our spirituality, and we do give him credit for doing that and working with, the Big Daddy Kane, the Rakim, all the people that they say were at war with each other, but they were the founding 80s kids. And you do have a couple of guys that's a little bit older, like Run DMC and LL Cool J. That's why I kind of don't include them in the list, even Chuck D, because they are the older Generation X. And then we do give credit to like Spike Lee and Ice-T, for example. They are actually baby boomers because they were born before 1960. So I've been really hammering that home, that 1960 is the beginning of Generation X, and anything before 1959 and below, you're talking about baby boomers, and then below that would be Silent Generation and Greatest Generation. But we'll go over the intervals of the generations and the new YNs and generation, the millennials and Gen Z and whatever we're going to call this next generation. My son helped them in understanding when that generation, quote unquote, alpha, or whatever they're going to identify themselves as, and continue to share our knowledge, our wisdom, and understanding, so that we can keep rolling with this freedom, justice, and equality. So that's our goal as a foundational Black American. But I just wanted to stop to interrupt to say that right there, because we're going to constantly hear them say consciousness, culture, and therein is they're trying to divide. That's been the game plan of those that are against us, to divide the community and the culture, to be at war with each other. And we've been hip to that game since the 1960s, because we do see Malcolm X more as being the culture and Martin Luther King as being the leader of the community. So we'll talk more about that as we keep going on with these lessons and sharing this dopeness right here. So I'll be right. I'm gonna play the rest of it, and then I'm going to
culture that's bothering people, because this woman admits that FBA culture is the culture of America. Now, she also point that she made that was really pretty good. She said that they tried to whitewash it, dilute it, etc., and that way they can eventually, a white guy can do it and give credit to him. And how many times have we seen that? You can look at every music genre, you can look at acting, you can look at whatever the case may be, right? You can look at cooking. Like, listen, Black women been cooking, our food for years, Southern food for years, but Paula Deen learned a few recipes, and oh my God, Paula Deen is the greatest thing ever. Like, what? Where's she learning recipes from? You understand? It's only great unless they can put, one of their faces on the situation. Music, no matter what it is, as long as they can put their face on it. And the one thing that not only the folks, but others get upset about is that if we're not a part of something, nobody cares. She mentioned about the protesting. How many times have we seen protests against Donald Trump in this country with other groups? They came out in large numbers. What did we see about these protests? One, we didn't see a militarized police force. Didn't see it. That's number one. They was allowed to protest, do whatever they wanted to do, and they went home fine. Okay? What else did we see? They had large numbers as well, big large numbers. But yet, the chanting they was doing, the large numbers, all of that fell to the ground. Why did it fall to the ground? Because no one cared. Why no one cared? Not because of the messaging, because FBAs wasn't a part of none of it. This is why every group keep begging Black people to say something, get involved with it. Because when we get involved with something, everybody, the world, pays attention to what we say. Why is that? Because we have the moral capital in this country. The folks sure don't have it at all. They have negative $1 million moral capital, but we have the moral capital because we always stood on business fighting for what's righteous. Fighting against racism, white supremacy, fighting against Jim Crow, slavery, any kind of discrimination, police brutality. Like, we always fighting something that's a righteous cause. And because we built up that moral capital globally, we've built up that moral capital.
Traditional higher education in America feels
education
broken.
A successful life.
Built up that moral capital globally. We've built up that moral capital. So when the folks and anybody else want to come out there and say something, it don't even work unless we're there. We're the glue that holds it all together. We are the people that is relevant, that the whole world say, what they say, what the FBAs are talking about. Our presence brings attention, and our absence brings attention as well. Our absence brings even more attention than our presence, because the world is questioning where they at, what happened, why aren't they out there protesting, what did y'all do, did Donald Trump do something to them? Like what? Well, I heard them saying online they're tired. I heard them online say, man, the hell with America. America could implode. I don't care. I am going to go on vacation. I'm chilling. I'm not worried about nothing. Ooh, well, at the ports, they don't have no ships coming in. The shells gonna get empty. And black people like, we fine. We'll make it. We cool. We made it before. We'll make it again. Well, look, all the jobs that's being lost. We keep getting fired. Oh, you losing your little federal jobs, folks. You know how many jobs we lost every day? Every time we look up, black people getting fired or laid off. We're okay. We're not tripping about anything. That's another thing that's getting people bothered. We're not tripping. FBAs, you don't see all this going on? Oh yeah, we see it. But that's a walk in the park for us. That's our life. Nothing Trump is doing that haven't been done to us already. That's the thing about us. We have taken everything from America, everything they could throw at us, and it's so nothing going on with Trump or any of them it's like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? And we feel like we want to stand up for something, we will. Like Carmelo Anthony, we'll stand up. That's a brother in our community. Oh yeah, we're gonna stand up for Carmelo Anthony. You know, if it's something global, like Ibrahim Traore in Burkina Faso, and how them folks trying to take his life. Okay, yeah, we'll say something about that, because that man he's standing on business. He kicked the French out. You know what I'm saying? He's fighting against these folks, and you know we'll support any African leader that's doing that, right? So we'll say something on issues like that. But for the rest of y'all in this country, nah, we are so cool. We done our part. We done our part. Listen, you know it's bad when even a lot of the Democrat shields will say, yeah, I'm cool, I'm sitting down too, because y'all don't realize that was y'all last line of defense, the Democrat shield. That was the last line y'all had. If y'all made the Democrat shield so upset, and then this the thing, you other groups, when the exit polls came out and they saw how y'all betrayed them, because that's really what it is. See, y'all, the people that y'all had holding on, see, y'all didn't have people like myself, you know, in the grassroots, but you had the black Democrat shields, you know, the Boule class, they was on your side and all that. They really believed y'all were allies. They really believed that. And y'all showed them election night that y'all was not an ally to them. And that's why they said to hell with y'all too. So even the Boule class and the grassroots have literally came together, not because we sat down and had a meeting, but because circumstances made it happen. And I'm so glad the Boule class and the rest of them are sitting down too. I'm proud of them. Listen, let me tell you something. Let me tell the black Boule something. You know, y'all got a lot of error in your ways, but you're still my brother and sister. We can fight, we can have issues, but you know, hey, we FBAs at the end of the day, we can work our problems out as much as possible, right? As long as you don't do nothing horrible to sell us out pretty bad, right? Some of you have, but some of you haven't. So, you know, I always can work with an FBA brother or sister on something, right? But we are the culture. When we say we are the culture, that woman's confirming with our statement when we say we are the culture. We are. We are. You take us away, you got nothing in this country. That's why these people study us so much. What are they saying? What are they doing? Where are they located? how they're singing, how they're dancing, how they're dressing, how they're styling their hair. What shoes are they wearing? What socks are they wearing? What kind of jewelry are they wearing? How do they speak to each other? What's their interest? They're always doing that because why? You wouldn't do it to people that's not relevant. You just wouldn't. Nobody cares what the folks is doing. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what other groups outside the folks are doing. We're not paying attention to what everybody else is doing because like they ain't got nothing going on that's interesting enough for us. So we just stay doing us, right? That's
Hablemos del salario.
And like I said, this episode is Pimps, Simps, and 6304s, right? All right, so I'm about to give y'all the top 6 304 Democratic 304s, right? All right, let me see there, right? And this came at me at the, not at the last moment, but it is like, they're the so-called leaders of the Democratic Party, the female leaders, and they doing the same thing. And then this little, is that coming through? Oh, that's not even coming through yet. Let me cut this off. I thought I cleared that. There it is, right? So this is a snip from TD Media, formerly known as TD Hip Hop, and another, foundational Black American, and part of the media. He does a lot of news. He does a lot of politics news and things like that too. Phil, you just saw, he's probably the biggest as far as subscribers, because he has a whole network, African Diaspora Network with Vicky Dillard and a couple other people that I'm slowly interject with these type of videos that I make whenever I do make these type of videos. But I only using it because right now sports is kind of on the low. Sixers is out of the playoffs, so I'm not trying to talk about Sixers, but I am going to watch the Phillies today. And like I said, being the kid, we still trying to arrange our time so that we can do a live stream or whatever we can fit in together and share and go back to sharing those type of things with you. So, but this is right now, since it's the end of Black Media Appreciation Month, and then next month is Mother's Day, so I guess we're going to call it Mother's Month or whatever they're trying to do. And then of course June, they want to try to make that Pride Month again, and I would be very disappointed if Trump does some old Pride Month BS for next month. For June. Now make it, if you want this one to be Mother's, then the next one June should be Fathers, right? Because to coincide with Father's Day. And then the 4th of July, the normal Independence Day, yada yada, whatever other the months that we're gonna do. So therein it is, that's our holidays. Those are our celebrations, and it goes back before 1776. Like I say, Foundation of Black Americans, we look at 1526 as our date of revolution, when we first had to fight back from the colonizers, the Spanish colonizers, Portuguese, or whoever it is that they want to say was coming to build on our land and capture come with captive slaves from Africa. So we'll talk more about that later on too. So this is right here. My Simps, Pimps, and 6 304s. I'm trying to move as fast as I can because I'm already am I up against it? I already hit my 30-minute mark. I'm about to hit it in 1 minute. So I'm already over, and I'm going to jump right into Shaheed Bolson with Middle Nation, and just do a quick second on who that is and what he's bringing to the table. But this is my top 6 because as you can see right here, this one here is AOC. Y'all know her as AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? And they doing the same movement. It's like we say Black Lives Matter, but now it's these illegals and all that. Their lives are more important than the foundation of Black Americans, who are supposed to be the foundation of the Democratic Party, but clearly we're being overlooked every time. And all I'm saying is like the 70% rule is I'm saying 70% of black children, foundational black American children, are growing up in single-parented homes. Is it a slave mentality? Yes, some of it is. Therein is where we, as a people, we have to, especially the brotherhood of mankind, the black brotherhood of mankind, should I say. We need to start working together as a brotherhood and redevelop a fatherhood of God. That's always been our goal, but we'll talk more about that later on. But I just wanted to share this picture real quick before I went in there. My Pimps, Simps, and what are we saying? And 6304s. And the top one is Nancy Pelosi. Number 2 is Maxine Waters. Number 3, you see here in this page, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Jasmine Crockett coming in at number 4. Elon Omar is number 5. And then 6 I'm going to give to Angela D. Craig. I don't know who she is, but I just grabbed the name and saw that she likes the LGBTQIA plus .pdf files. She's not necessarily a Democrat. She's kind of independent, but she goes under a different party than the actual Democrat Party. So we'll talk more about that or whatever, how we need to develop our own third party. And that's what I've been bringing to the table. Like, you can go register yourself as whatever party you like. That's how free this country is. That's the beauty of America. So when I first registered, I registered as independent. I advised my son to do the same thing. And then down the line, decide what you want to do. If you want to be a Democrat, go ahead and be a Democrat. If you want to be a Republican, go ahead and be a Republican. But I'm trying to get you to, understand that it's the same party. Like, the 70% rule goes in effect with that also, because 70% of these Republicans are actually Democrats. So every time I'm talking about the Democrat and how dumb their party was, I'm actually talking about 70% of those Republicans too. That's why I didn't register as Republican. I registered as an independent when I first started being a young, epistemological mathematician. And henceforth, I am going to register as a independent. I'm still staying as independent, but I'm going to write on my thing. I'm going to write foundational Black American. Also as my race, but also as my political allegiance and political ideology, methodology, whatever kind of concept and idea that y'all want to talk about. Now, I'm trying to move as quick as I can, but at the same time with a little bit of patience. Because I know it's kind of quick to suck in for a lot of people, because they come to my page and then as soon as I explained all that, and then they still want to come to my page and say, you love Trump, and no, I love God. And hence with God, there's no reason for me to hate Trump. So I don't even, right? My goal with Mr. Trump right now is, Mr. Trump, these are my grievances, cut the check, so that I can help you rebuild this great country that we're living in. Even if it's, you do bring that platinum plan to the forefront. But anyway, so we'll figure all that out as we continue this grind that we're doing. Let me mention this real quick. With the Animal Crossing, I might do some gameplay later on today. I do feel like I might play some Breath of the Wild and just talk about life a little bit on a shorter podcast. Because I'd rather do those. I'd rather do those type of things. The new Muppet, he's not a Muppet, but that's Gruff. He's one of my islanders on Animal Crossing. And I wanted to use the other guy, Poncho, for these kind of videos, this talk show, but it's not a game show, it's not a talk show. It's a program that I'm trying to bring together as a, network. My own little network that me and my son is working on. All right, cool. So now I'm just going to jump right into Shaheed Bolson. We're talking about the Middle Nation. What's unique about this that I'm going to share? I'm just going to let it share it and let him and say what he say, and I might say 2 seconds afterwards. But that way, cut it short. I'm not trying to go a whole hour with this. With this one here, Bolson is important because he represents a Eastern philosophical methodology in explaining the Western psychological ideology. I know I kind of lost some people with that right there, throwing the grammatical mathematics at you. Um, yes, some people like you're speaking a bunch of colloquial rhetoric. Like that's not what Obama does. That's why yesterday's podcast was Obama's the boy who cried wolf. Right? That's what he does. That's what he does. And until he goes, I was wrong. Um, Black people, we need solidarity. Right? All this segregation or separation nonsense as y'all keep going on and on about. No, the third aspect would be solidarity, and that's what he's supposed to be showing with his quote unquote wife, right? Solidarity that way. It's showing unity with the black family. Right now, the black family is, like I said, 70% is growing up in single parent homes, and they need my help, and I can't help them unless they cut the check so that I can, help them to help me, and we can build a better nation. Whew. I be letting get it all in there right now. But here's Shaheed Bolson real quick. Try to, pen and paper, take some notes, listen to what the man is saying. And then I'll touch a little bit on what he's saying. Of course, I'm sharing the links in the description or the comment area, and fair use, etc., etc. All right.
Well, I think basically the A National OCGFC, as I've talked about many times, I think that they've transcended the traditional structures in which they initially developed. The nation state model compartmentalized the world into boxes, and within those boxes, they created systems of order and control, and each box had its own economy, had its own power structure. So within the economy of each box, or what you call countries, some rose to the top within those boxes, but those boxes don't have any roofs. And now those who rose to the top of the box kept rising until they're not even in the boxes anymore. And once you get out of the box, once you transcend the walls of the box, well, you see things differently. And the A National OCGFC see things very differently than the nationalistic OCGFC, for example, the military-industrial complex. They see things very differently because they're not as limited as before. See, you and I look at a map and we see countries, we see states, we see borders. We're looking at all of the compartments of the world, the country compartments of the world. The A National OCGFC don't see this. When they look at the world, they see zones of resources. They see natural resources, human resources, and so on. They see opportunity zones. It's like X-ray glasses. They see through the borders, and they see through the states and through the governments and what have you, just like looking through walls. Looking through the skin and the muscles and seeing the skeleton, seeing the bones. That's what they see. Their vision is on a different light spectrum. It blocks out history, ideology, culture, patriotism, nationalism, religion, and what have you. They don't see any of that. So like when you and I look at a map, we might see that there's 3 or 4 different countries in the region, for example. But the A National OCGFC, they just see one corridor of extractable resources. That's all they see. When they see Congo, they don't see Congo, they see cobalt, for example. You have to understand how they see things so that you can understand and so that you can predict their behavior. You're used to the old system of decision makers being part of and being internal to nation-state power structures. So you think that they make policies based on national interests. But those days are over in the West. There's a power structure now that has outgrown nation-state systems in the West. The leaders in America, the leaders in Europe, don't care about America. They don't care about Europe. If you don't understand that, then their policies won't make any sense to you. And this is what I'm seeing from a lot of political commentators and analysts who can't understand why Europe and why the UK are still insisting on supposedly blind support for Ukraine and for Zelensky, because this is obviously against the national interests of European countries and against the interests of the UK. So they assume that European leaders care about that. They think that they're supposed to care about that because traditionally they did. But these leaders care about what's in the interests of the A National OCGFC, not their nations. And that's been the case throughout the Ukraine conflict. These policies are suicide if you think that the leaders are tied in any way whatsoever to the lives of their people. But if you understand their position correctly, then you'll know that it's not suicide, it's euthanasia. Like I say, if you look at the world the way that they do, in terms of zones of resources, zones of opportunities, and of course there's going to be a layer of that map that will include or will incorporate data about demographics, demographic robustness or depletion, predictable societal factors that either contribute to or detract from stability and feasible prosperity and so on. So if you look at Europe on a map like that, well, it'll be incredibly sparse. There's just not much there. The truth is there never has been much there, which is exactly why they had to go all around the world and rob and loot and pillage, because they don't have much on their own. But now they're not even able to rob and loot and pillage all around the world. I mean, if we're, say, like 50 years in the future, 2075, looking back at the history of Europe, the likely future of Europe looked at retrospectively, is going to be quite grim. Basically, Europe as a coherent project dissolves between now and 2075. I mean, by 2075, there will be no coherent European project at all. It will collapse through erosion and strife between now and 2075. Institutions of one sort or another will persist, borders will remain, flags will still fly, but the unifying pulse will flatline in the next couple of decades. The population in Europe is going to see a steady decline. It won't be catastrophic, but it is irreversible. Some of the nations of Europe will experiment with different remedies, with, incentives and automation, robotics, immigration, but they can't alter the trajectory in time. So fragmentation is going to intensify, regionalism, secessionism, ideological polarization. These are going to be the defining internal dynamics of Europe. Europe is going to remain only subsistently productive, meaning they will eke out a subsistence. Entirely destitute by 2075, but it will cease to lead, and its people will only survive on the basis of debt and welfare, because the gravitational centers of innovation and the gravitational centers of capital are going to move to the south and to the east. Europe will adapt, but that's just another word for deteriorate. I mean, just over the next few years, relations with the United States are going to become more subordinate and more transactional. Strategic autonomy is going to be attempted for some period of time, but it's never going to be achieved, ever. There will be some engagement with the BRICS nations, probably especially with India and some blocs in Africa, with China to some degree. But these alignments are going to be reactive, not directive. You understand? And if they develop agreements with China, which is possible, it's not ultimately going to help them in terms of maintaining their position as a world power. They will become dependent labor and credit-enabled consumers. They'll be bought. Their land will be bought, their property will be bought, their utilities will be bought, and it will all belong to others. If you're looking at the continent of Europe in 2075, it's neither going to have been resurrected by 2075 nor completely destroyed. It will be peripheral. It's going to be like a library with no readers. This much is clear. Europe is not rising, it's not stabilizing, it's not advancing towards a future of sovereignty or strength or relevance. No. Europe is collapsing. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Engineered by the very hands that used to sustain its prosperity. And European leadership is colluding with this 100%. The owners and controllers of global financialized capital, the A-national OCGFC, have already written Europe out of the future. It's no longer seen as a vital center of power. It's no longer critical to the architecture of global capitalism, global business. The energy, the expansion, the capital, the population growth, it's all shifting to the south and to the east. Europe is being carved up, it's being downgraded, it's being reprogrammed to fit into a new global design in which it has very little importance. Mainstream media talks about the Ukraine war as a crisis, but we need to understand it, as I've always talked about, as a mechanism. It's a tool. It's a lever being used to sever Europe's ties with Russia and by extension to China. And in the name of defending liberal values, Europe has walked straight into economic disintegration. This wasn't a miscalculation. This was exactly the purpose. Deindustrialization is accelerating across the continent, starting in Germany. Energy costs are unsustainable, and they will continue to be so. Supply chains are being rerouted. Foreign investment is drying up. Germany, the economic engine of Europe, is running on fumes at this point. France is consumed with internal divisions and political decay. It's a laughingstock. Southern Europe is drifting into post-industrial subsistence type of economy. This isn't just the result of market forces. This is a managed decline facilitated by dependence on American military protection and the ideological leash of the European Union, and that's a leash that's being held by the A-national OCGFC. But Washington doesn't even see a value in NATO as a collective system anymore. What's far more appealing to the US is to make bilateral, one-on-one military relationships that bypass Brussels, sideline Germany, treat France with polite irrelevance, make deals directly with other countries. What this means is that the United States may actually or functionally withdraw from NATO, essentially to abandon Europe and to reorganize its military influence, more efficiently. And I think that influence is probably going to be more likely to be concentrated in the East, in Europe, Eastern Europe. The future of American military strategy in Europe is not going to be centered in Berlin or Paris. It's going to be built in Warsaw. It's going to be built in Bucharest, because Eastern Europe is hungry. They're hungry for relevance, Poland especially. And they're going to be willing to trade sovereignty in order to get that relevance. They're already doing it. These countries are likely going to become the forward operating bases of American geopolitical power, military power.
And there you have it, Now, that was a lot to take in. I'm sure I lost a lot of the people that like to practice being ignorant just to be ignorant, right? And I've been saying that to a lot of people, and I know it's like, well, that's so harsh to say to somebody, but that's what you have. In the case of don't have a clue what he was talking about. I'm saying whether he's right or wrong that's the game theory. That's game theory. Is he right or wrong? Right? All you can do is flip a coin. Right? All you can do is guess right or wrong. Right or wrong. Right? Just like Democrat, Republic, all you can do is flip a coin, guess. Right? But so all of this uplifting the Democratic Party like it's like it is the religion of God, right? Is futile, and a lot of people have that much faith in the Democratic Party that that's why we're seeing a lot of black people losing their minds. They put too much faith in that and not enough faith in God, right? There's a reason why God said no, it's over with the Democrats. There's a reason why, right? Now, whether that's the end of the world, right? You're still listening to the Democrats that's telling you that. And yes, 70% of the Republicans are Democrat, right? Now, whether or not he's right or wrong is not him. It's God, right? Because God is perfect. God is perfect. So, unless he can flip a coin 100 times and get it right 100 times, right? He's not God, right? Or we are all children of our Father, but he's not a God, right? He's not God, the one God. No, one God is perfect. One God is doing exactly what the one God timeline do. Now, y'all want to believe that this is going to lead to a nuclear holocaust and the end of existence as we know it? Because you're being pumped with fear from pastors that are more concerned with that and Donald Trump being in charge of driving the car instead of understanding that Donald Trump is exactly who God wanted to be the president of the United States. Right? So any pastor that you need to look at them side-eyed. Right? Any pastor that's on this whole what he's doing is leading to the complete and utter destruction of our world. I mean, you really need to look at that pastor side-eyed, because they're not serving. God told them that, and then because all he can do is guess too, right or wrong. Right? Anything more than right or wrong or yes or no, now you starting to understand who the evil one is. Right? I'm saying all I did is guess. All I did was guess. I said, once I found out that Kendrick Lamar was the halftime show, I said the Eagles are going to go to the Super Bowl and win it. I guessed. I was right. And I was amazed when I was right, because I knew that I knew the halftime show was going to be one of the greatest halftime shows of all time. And them YNs, y'all don't understand them YNs. Right? And I do give him credit for having a glory across his chest, which means give glory to God. I do give them credit for saying Gen X, which is Generation X, giving us credit for creating this beautiful culture that we're in. And I do give them credit for saying, I will whip your ass and hide the Bible just in case God is watching, to let you know that. You know what I mean? Yes, slap me, turn the other cheek. Try to slap me again. I don't know if I can take 2 slaps. I might duck it and counter you right in your, you know what I mean? That's just me. Some people can't even take the first smack, right? Ali's one of the greatest because he used to be like, he'll let you hit him just to get mad. And then he will proceed to give you the greatest ass of your life, right? So this is Tariq Nasheed today. Make sure y'all check him out. Why the term African American is problematic. I touched on that a little bit during this show with Barack Obama being the prime example. Calling Barack Obama black is actually disrespectful to his mother. And when you're dealing with a child that's raised by their mother and all the mother is saying is forget your daddy, forget your daddy, forget your daddy, programming and a hatred for his father, so his grandfather became his true father, who's actually, I believe he's Jewish. So Barack is actually one of the first Jew presidents of the. You know what I mean? And that's not being anti-Semitic. It's just, hey, that's what he is, right? Just because he's black, not black, he's African American. But we can say brown, almond, or whatever new color that we want to come up with, or color scheme. I wouldn't say golden. That's whack. Not the new redskin. You know what I mean? I think beige isn't being too nice, or yellow, because yellow is usually related with cowardice instead of yellow being related to intelligence, is what the teacher gave us, right? And then this one here, shout out to Mike Crockett. You got the meme of the day. I'm going to touch on this one and hook it up. Planet of the Apes. Make sure, hey, yo, and I'm going to watch the original one with my son, because we watched Monty Python's Holy Grail, and I died when that rabbit came out. Oh, that rabbit ain't no joke. The white rabbit. Fear the white rabbit in the Holy Grail, right? And then finally, what else we got? Let me see what I'm doing here. And yeah, this is the last one. What this one represents is my attempt to show set theory between the community and the culture. What they're trying to do is separate the community and culture. That's what the Democrats have been trying to do. Make us fight each other, whether it's man and woman, wife and husband, or like that's what the Democrats are doing. And once again, 70% of the Republicans are Democrat, right? But I'm showing it as Foundation of Black Americans being the community, and the Hip Hop Alliance, which is, the Rakim, the Big Daddy Kane, the Chuck D, the Karis One, the MC Light, they formed a union to help young artists to get into the business and create, and that's why we're seeing so many creative little TikTok videos, because TikTok is nothing more than hip hop for the children. It just gets upsetting because you got a lot of knuckleheads, a lot of YNs that like to go overboard and actually break the rules and just show nothing but lust and hate, and it's like, yo, what? Nah, just you have to learn how to be, add just a little bit of comedy. You know what I mean? Like, we get it. Comedy is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to laugh, but if you're doing it to be completely destructive, like I'm not trying to be completely destructive to kids that have a passion for autism. Like, I get it, everybody doesn't have the same frequency when it comes to understanding intelligence, or the knowledge, right? The wisdom just ain't clicking on 4 cylinders like that, or 8 cylinders, or 16 cylinders, or 32 cylinders, right? See how that also goes in a mathematical understanding of computer science and the 2 raised to the power. And that's what we have right here. We have the community versus the culture. I've been kind of doing it the same way, showing the two different warfares. Psychological warfare being the Western side, being like the West Coast, and philosophical warfare being more the East Coast. One is more, one is more an analyst. The other side is more of a spiritual thing, or one is more of an ideology or ideology. The other one's more of a methodology, and how what I'm studying is tautological epistemology. That's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That'll take it to a whole nother level. I have books available, so hit the like button, subscribe, share. Contact me. I'll get those books to you, help you with the knowledge, and help us to build this nation back. All right. So this is Roller Modulus Tautology. I gave y'all way more than what that was overtime right there, as my man BGS be saying, right? Shout out to BGS. Shout out to everybody that I shared today. I'll try to share more of y'all information, and just follow the commandments, and we're gonna be good, right? Love God, our Father, all the time. Hip hop life, love one. Motherhood. We I see y'all coming together and finally understanding and saying the right things now. That's God is love, hip hop is life, time is holy. Not putting the dot YNs, not putting the dot on the chest to prick the holes in them. No. Time is holy, meaning go play some basketball with the children. Learn how to play chess with the children. Animal Crossing is a game I'm looking for friend codes to help play. And things like that nature. Because money is nothing more than the fourth dimensional illusion that really doesn't exist. Like if you love God, you how dare you say you love money, right? Because it says it right there in the good book, right? If you love God, if you love money, you might end up hating God or trying to be without God. And then if you without God, you want to hang with me, you already messed up on your rebuttal argument or whatever you want to do that you say, when you coming at me with all that ignorant, and then I'm like, nah, I just said, Bert and Ernie to be, funny or whatever, because I notice when I listen to my own videos, I'm going like when I'm around my son, and I think I get that from Daryl, D-Real. I gotta find D-Real and get D-Real on here. I know D-Real got some ill beats that I can spit to take it to whole new levels, but there it is. Hip hop is the art of making the most out of life. This is Volatamp Modulus Tautology, wishing you compassion, peace, and happiness. One.